Good morning,
All right.
everybody. My name is Megan Meacham. I'm a professor in the communications program on VTSU Lyndon's campus, and I have the privilege of introducing John Kascenska to the Making a Difference and Making a Living conference. John received his undergraduate degree from Lyndon State College, his master's from Virginia Tech, and his PhD from North Carolina State University. And after receiving his PhD, he returned to Lyndon faculty and eventually became an academic dean. John epitomizes what the Making a Difference and Making a Living conference is all about. A business owner of Kingdom Adventure Mountain Guides for over 15 years, John leads professional instruction in rock and ice climbing, mountaineering, avalanche education, and wilderness first aid and responder training. And he also finds time to teach avalanche courses through the International Climbing School. He does this while also embedding himself in his community in a way like nobody I know. He's an active part of Kingdom Trails, the Burke Chamber of Commerce, the Lyndon Alumni Council, and is on the board of trustees for Northeastern Vermont Regional Hospital. And the cherry on the sundae is his current role in the Vermont House of Representatives. I've had the privilege of working with John in many capacities and know you will all gain a lot from him. So let's welcome John to the MADMAL conference.
Thank you, Megan.
Megan, thank you so much. And she and I actually worked together on the Alumni Council, and we have for years, and we've known each other for a long time. Megan, I've forgotten how long you've been at Lyndon here, but it's
half my life. I've been teaching for 18 years, so about that, yeah.
So she just gave half my introduction, which is okay. I'll highlight some other things here. It's good. Megan, thanks so much. And great to see you. Wish you were here today, but I know you've got a lot of work to do there too for your students as well. So I'm glad to see everyone here. We have time. We can just do a quick round of names. It'd be really helpful here. I know a couple of people here already here, but I don't know the rest of you. So if you just give me your name.
I'm Jackie Phillips.
Jackie.
Yep.
I'm Max Fairview.
I'm Oliver Odette. I'm Tyler Harrison.
I'm Beth Welch. I work at VTSU in a project called Road to Success to support rural Vermont students.
We just met like 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
So I'm glad to hear what you're doing here.
Absolutely.
Mike Corbin.
I'm Amy Wright, and I work with you, John, on the Lyndon campus in career development.
Daryl Buzzino.
What do you do? You're with her. Okay. I was introduced this morning. We probably met a couple of years ago here for sure. Well, thanks so much, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of be here today. And I think, the last speaker, the first speaker of today, Kelly, talked about taking advantage of opportunities. And this is a great opportunity here today for you to kind of network with a lot of folks here, not just our guest speakers here, but people in attendance. So you'll have a chance to meet probably more people during the lunch hour here today. I'll be sitting and eating some good food here. So, Megan, so I'm a graduate of Lyndon State College, which is what the name was at that time. And many of you, a lot of you know the college system here in Vermont has gone through quite a bit of transition here over time. It's been good transition. It's ended up being a very positive transition here as well. Hi there. We just introduced ourselves. You want to tell us who you are?
Oh, Alicia Millay,
I know who she is.
representative from Pittsburgh and Proctor.
We just sit across each other in the chair. Good to see you.
Good to see
How's your
you.
summer?
It's been great.
Great. We've gone through a lot of transition here in very positive ways. I really appreciate President Berg's introduction here to that here today. And actually, he and I worked together as deans. He was at Johnson, I was at Lyndon, and that's where I first met Dave as well. And then, coming full circle, when he was introduced as the president, he showed up at a first meeting like, I know who you are. I know who you are as well. So you never know what's going to kind of lead people back to a place here in Vermont, aside from where I know President Berg had been working previously to that. And the same goes for me as well. I was born in Connecticut. My family moved up to Vermont. I was 8 years old, and my dad worked for the phone company. He was transferred up here, and I was 8 years old, so I'm not in Vermont.
Well, you kind of.
Yeah, but I've been here long enough here. I've been here since, moved back and forth. I was away for 10 years and kind of came back because that's the place where everyone kind of made money here is in Vermont. There's such redeeming qualities here. Mike Peachek spoke very well in regard to that here. Mike and I see each other often here, working in the State House, along with my colleague going off to my left over here as well. So I went to college. I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do, but my dad's like, what about, forestry? And I thought, well, I hadn't really kind of thought about that. And Lyndon had no forestry program at the time here, and they still don't. And so I applied to a couple of forestry schools here, just to kind of go for some interviews, get a tour of campus, and actually ended up applying to Paul Smith's college, which at the time, they were a 2-year school tied to the SUNY schools, all the SUNY classical schools in different locations here, where people go to one college for 2 years and have a next step. You could go for 2 more years during your bachelor's degree. I thought that was a really good opportunity. So I went for an interview at Paul Smith's College. It was a great interview here, at least what I thought, for sure. And had a great tour of the campus. And it wasn't soon after when I came home with my folks, I got a letter in the mail and they accepted my application. I was all excited about that. But there was also another piece of information in there. It was a brochure to, where do you think? Lyndon. I thought, this looks really neat. Looks like there's some kind of cool outdoor courses going on there. So I went for an interview there, went for an interview there, which they accepted me as well. And, actually, they accepted me to general studies because at the time they were growing so fast. At the time, they had no more room in that particular major. They said, don't worry about it. Just be taking some writing courses, math courses, a couple of things here and there. And in your second semester, we'll just switch you into that major. And that's how I kind of ended up at Lyndon here for the most part. Great place to be. I think there was like 3 feet of snow on campus when I came for my interview in March. I don't think it really melted until probably close to or maybe after graduation that particular year. Weather conditions were way different than they are here today for sure. I had an opportunity here to meet some really interesting faculty who had done a lot of things here off campus versus just their teaching responsibilities. And that's what kind of garnered my interest in some outdoor activity kinds of things I'd never done before. I'd never gone rock climbing before. I'd never gone canoeing here before. Well, I shouldn't say before, but not a whole lot here for sure. Did a lot of hiking with my parents, camping and visiting the state parks and all that kind of good fun stuff here. And I had actually been to the Lyndon campus one time before when I was in 7th grade. Because the Lyndon campus was actually started by T.N. Vail. They had a big farm there. And that's where the campus first began. They had a big old mansion that was there. I'm really lucky I've had a chance to kind of walk into that thing. This was super right before I came to Lyndon in 1978. They had to tear the building down. It was just deemed to be unsafe. A bunch of buildings that were up in the Vail Center and all those big buildings right there. But it was a great opportunity to kind of go up there, kind of get a little bit of an introduction from many, many years ago. With my memory, we kind of recalling what we all did with camping. I think in August it snowed. It snowed. We drove to St. Johnsbury to buy wool hats because we had clothing here for that particular trip. It was the first introduction there. And when I came to campus as a student there, and connecting with the faculty, and I think that's a really strong trademark, I think, for all the campuses. Our faculty and staff work really hard to kind of connect with their students and take that opportunity to kind of interact here with them as much as we can here for sure. The program that I was in was a really interesting program. It was a wide array of courses that they required us to be taking. I majored in outdoor education at the time. The degree was actually recreational leisure studies with a concentration in outdoor education. My friends I met in that particular major, some were majoring in ski area management. And a lot of your upper echelon folks that are directing a lot of the skiers, many skiers across the country here are folks that went to Lyndon State College and took up that particular major. And we still have that major going on here today. The outdoor education program at Lyndon here is transformed into more of an adventure leadership kind of program, offering a lot of the same kinds of courses here for sure. And they also have some natural resource management kinds of programs going there as well. And it's always been kind of this ever-changing program for time here to kind of make sure we're kind of keeping up with the latest and greatest types of things that our students need to be knowing about and how they need to be here as professionals and the things they need to be doing every day, whether it's in their profession here or in their communities here. And so that really kind of gave me a really good base here what I came away with when I graduated here in 1992. When I finished my degree program there, I actually did not go into an outdoor education program. I really wanted to kind of work for the Park Service, but there was a federal freeze on hiring that particular year, so that didn't quite work out here. But I needed some work. And my dad had been working for the phone company and said, hey, there's a contract looking for some extra help. What do you think? And I said, well, what would I be doing? He said, well, setting telephone calls. Oh, okay. That was interesting work. Dangerous work. So we had a lot of safety kinds of things, a lot of risk management things we really had to kind of be paying close attention to. And I did that for a couple of summers here. I worked up at Pico ski area. I drove by this morning. It's snowing up there right now, actually. It was, yeah. And I was a lift attendant on the racing slope, and that was really kind of a cool place to be. That was like the coolest place if you're going to be a lift attendant on the racing slope, because Dartmouth would come over, UVM would drive down and take some training sessions right there. And they wanted me to kind of, stay on. And I'm like, I really want to get back into what I really want to be doing here. And the park ranger piece never really kind of worked out here, but I need to get a head start somewhere. I ended up working at a summer camp just about 10 miles outside of Boston, working with urban youth that would come to do lots of outdoor activity kinds of things, usually kind of camp activities. And what I had learned in my program at Lyndon here was not just how to be a rock climber or how to be a better canoeist or backpacker, things of that nature, but how to teach those skills as well. And that's where I really kind of got my hands dirty, so to speak, in my profession here, was doing that very thing, teaching outdoor skills. And that was a one summer job here. I had to take another little part-time job. Then I kind of realized here too, what I really want to be doing here, I think, is doing more teaching in maybe a larger place. And for that, I thought about maybe I should go to graduate school. And I kind of thought about that before I even graduated, but it's like, I'm going to kind of get a bit of a break here. A couple years off about that. And I did. That's why I ended up at Virginia Tech to get a master's degree. And it was I actually got a teaching assistantship there. So they gave me courses to teach, skills courses. And so I had a chance to kind of interact with at the college level of things. I thought that was a really great way for me to kind of get some good teaching background here. Made a few teaching mistakes as first year teachers often do. You're able to learn from those things. I had a wonderful time there. As graduation kind of came along, I was kind of going, okay, what do I do next? So I'm looking for positions at perhaps outdoor education centers, looking for positions at other colleges and universities to see what might be open. And so I walked in the program that I was in, by the way, it was in the physical education department. And so I went to that particular board, and I'm looking at all the jobs. They kind of post these things for all the graduate students who are getting ready to finish up their tour in graduate school, so to speak. And a friend of mine who was in a similar program, not the same as mine, said, John, you should take a look at this. They're looking for 2 people to go to North Carolina State University, work in the physical education department. That's not my degree. He says, no, they want outdoor people there. And so, like, well, that sounds like an interesting opportunity. Another opportunity, actually, pointed out to me by a friend.
Big difference in temperature.
Big difference in temperature as well. And I knew that. I'm like, okay, what's hopping up at Southwest Virginia? We're going to go to Raleigh, North Carolina. So I put an application in, and it was a very busy time. We're all trying to finish our degree programs. And I applied to, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different jobs. And we had a phone in the graduate office, which was a room about this big, like 18 graduate students in it. So another friend answered the phone and says, yeah, he's right here. Said, John, the phone's for you. And I said, okay. So I said, hello, this is John Kascenska. And on the other end was the department head for the physical education department at State. I said, hi, this is Dr. Richard Balfour. You applied for a position here. I think I'd actually forgotten that I had. And so what do you do? What's your answer? Yes, I did. Well, can you come and interview? I said, I would love to. When are you thinking? Now, this is a Wednesday. He said, can you be here on Friday at 8 o'clock? Yes, I can. And went down, everything worked out. I had a wonderful opportunity to meet the faculty members. They were looking for individuals that had some good experience teaching, but with practical skills here as well. And I recall walking to down the hall after meeting with Dr. Lawford to meet the interview team of faculty. He said, oh, by the way, people are really impressed with all the outdoor opportunities that you've taken advantage of, lots of good skills, they're happy with that. I need to tell you something. Every faculty member in this department, there were 50 faculty in this department, big school. Every faculty member in this department has to teach a course called, it's PE 100, Health and Physical Fitness. They're going to ask you if you can teach that, and you can, right? I said, yes, I can. And that was the very last question they asked me. They said, oh, by the way. And I said, yes, I can. You know, and it just really kind of worked out to my advantage. I'd never taught a course like that before, but I had tremendous support. And I think when you move into a work position, I think that's a really important thing to take advantage of. Take advantage of that opportunity, because you may be doing something you've never done here before. And for me in that teaching role, I never taught that course before, but the person who had taught it for 20 years, he wanted to meet with me, sit down, shared all the curriculum. He says, look, this is your course. You can teach this how you want, but you have to cover like these kinds of things. And I learned a lot with teaching that particular course. And the students, you make a difference with them. Because, some students that come to that course, we had like different physical tests, muscular strength, endurance, kinds of stuff here. Every student got tested on those things. So it's a little bit of traumatic kind of a thing for a brand new student coming in to have to, pass all these physical fitness tests here by the end of the semester. You're just graded on it. Like, how do I do that? I take people rock climbing, backpack, they teach them how to go canoeing, things like that. And we had a lot of students that were maybe as fit as others. And every new student had to take this. I had like Division I athletes who are taking this course, people on the track team, cross country team, football team, basketball, baseball, all that you can imagine happening at a big university. And I thought, what am I going to do here? So I thought, well, you know what? Maybe the first day that we're looking at this, let's just take a lap walking around the track. And the class is like, this is all we're doing. I said, no, we have some other things planned. And so we move on to other things. And every week that I taught that class, we just increased the programs walking. And then one day I said, okay, let's run away. We're talking about walk the last 2 different weeks. And we eventually got people to run 2 miles. So a little different take on things here, because other professors didn't necessarily do it that particular way, but it worked. Because we had folks that would never thought they could run 2 miles, but by week 14, they were doing it. I'm happy for them. Big accomplishment here for sure. Moved on from there, and it was kind of a point in time. I'm like, I really want to get back to Vermont, but I don't know what opportunities are there. I got a phone call from my previous professor. I have his undergrad. He says, hey, we have an opening up here. Haven't seen your resume. He hung up on me. I didn't even get a chance to hardly say hello. I'm like, okay. So I looked it up, and there was an application. There was a job description there. They wanted someone to come in to be a new professor in the outdoor education program where I started here, and I applied for the job. And there were other applicants here too. So it's a fair search and all. And I ended up being in that position. And I did that for about 11 years, I think, Megan. Megan probably remembers my time teaching as a full-time faculty. And one day in April, I'm sitting at home. Actually, I was sitting at home a little bit, but I was out there mowing my lawn. And the phone rings. My wife picks it up, and she comes out and says, it's the president of Lyndon. She wants to talk to you like right now. And what are you thinking? I'm in trouble. So I said, hi, Carol, how are you? She says, pretty good. I said, am I in trouble? She says, no, you're not in trouble. Are you coming in tomorrow? I said, yes, I need to see you. I said, okay, what time? First thing in the morning. So I walked in, came in first thing in the morning here, and she closed the door and said, well, we need someone to kind of pick up some additional responsibilities here. Because one of our folks had to leave for various reasons here. So I opened up a vacancy, and actually 2 vacancies. And she said, you have a choice between the 2. I'm just sitting there listening to her. She goes, you've been spoken highly about. You can either be one of the academic deans for the college, or you can be in charge of admissions. Which would you like? I said, do I need to answer you now? She goes, that'd be really nice. Can I think about it? Sure, but call me back this afternoon. And I called back and said, look, I'm a teacher, by trade here, so to speak. I think I'll do better with academic affairs. And I did that for the next 10 years. And what a great opportunity there. No one goes to college wanting to be an academic dean, right? Or other kinds of positions that are there, but I took advantage of that opportunity, learned a lot here for sure. And that really allowed me to kind of move forward with some other opportunities here. It helped with various, a big team of people who are in nursing to the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, which is Lyndon is in one of those counties, right? Caledonia, Orleans, Essex County, that's the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont. And I did that for 11 years. And there was a point in time, it's like, I'm thinking about starting my own business. And I did that. And Megan mentioned I started Kingdom Adventures Mountain Guides. I had done a lot of guiding, a lot of climbing, a lot of high altitude kinds of stuff. I've been around the world a couple of times with one hand on the wheel, going to Nepal and Africa to do some mountain climbing there with plants. And I thought I want to kind of make this my own business. I always wanted to kind of do that. And actually, in my master's degree, my supportive area was business. And that was an opportunity I wanted to take advantage of. So I retired from the Vermont State Colleges, stayed intact as an alumni. Megan knows that. And I started my own business. And that's kind of an interesting thing to do because I wasn't really thinking about retiring early, but one of my sons said, Dad, it's just a chance for you to kind of do something that you've always wanted to do, start your own business. So he was kind of like that motivator here. So I did that, learned a lot about starting a business and getting that going. But with all the networking I had been a part of outside of my regular job at college really kind of paid off. And you're going to have wonderful careers to get those things started. And at some point, you're going to end up with meeting some people outside the realm of what you're doing. And that may end up opening up an opportunity there for you as well. And that's what kind of connected me to working with a couple of different climbing schools, AMS climbing school, teaching avalanche courses. I think we'll do a bunch of training here for that. Worked with International Mountain Climbing School. Both are over in North Conway, New Hampshire. And had a chance to meet a lot of fellow guides over there and network over there as well. And I'm actually tapering down that particular job because my current position here, as Megan noted here, is I work on State House of Representatives. And I was recently elected to a position in 2024. So this last year here was my first full term there. Prior to that, I got involved in politics a little bit in my local county committees here that helped to support fundraising for candidates here, encourage people to run for office, whatever it might be, select boards, school boards, perhaps state offices. And someone said, you should think about maybe running for office at some point. I thought, well, maybe when I retire. A different moment in my life here. But I got a call from one of my local senators that said, hey, one of our representatives has had to step down for various reasons. And I said, okay, why are you talking to me? Well, the governor needs to have 3 people nominated so he can interview 3 people and appoint someone. I said, well, isn't there someone else? I'm kind of busy with my business. And he said, well, we have 2 people. We need 1 more. Can I put you on the list? I said, sure, put me on the list. I said, what do you need? I need a resume from you in like a half an hour because we need to give this information to the governor in like an hour. Like, okay. So this happened on a Sunday. I sent my information to my Senator Joe Bank, by the way, and sent that to him. They sent things off to the governor's office. On Monday, I had an email that said, we've received nominations and we'd like to schedule a meeting with you and the governor. Governor Scott. And I said, sure. So I called back. She goes, when is the interview going to be? How about Wednesday at noon? I said, that works for me. She goes, great. So I get up on Wednesday morning and at like 10 minutes of 12, I'm checking my email and said, we have to move the meeting to 1 o'clock because something came up. The governor has to be taken care of. I'm like, that's fine. So we're doing this on Zoom here. It was not an in-person interview here at all. And I think actually one of the first times I ever kind of used Zoom here, that actually here for sure. This is 2022. And so the governor asked me like, a whole bunch of questions here. And he says, do you have any questions for me? And I asked a couple of questions. And I said, one last question I have is, what's your timeline here for appointing someone, just so I'm aware? And he says, well, this is why I'm talking to you. So what do you do? He said, can I think about it? What do you do? There you go. What's the answer?
Are you gonna say yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, what about my business?
I say yes. You can't tell anybody that you said yes. Because they need to let the other people know that they weren't going to be chosen as appointees. And I said, so when do I have to be there? That was my next follow-up question. And they said, you need to be at the State House at 7:30 a.m. on Monday.
Oh, my.
Okay. So actually, it was a Tuesday, actually. So it wasn't Monday, it was a Tuesday. So Senator Bennett drove me to the State House. I was all dressed up like I am here today. And met the clerk of the House and met the Speaker of the House, and they both came out of office because the first session was going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning. They said, you can't sit in the House unless you're go through the oath of office, which we all went through this last year, right? What an honor. I didn't know anything. I'm also appointed to the Commerce Economic Development Committee at the time. And so I met the chairperson there. He made a point to come see me right away. And this was halfway through the spring session. So it's March 7th was the day that I was there. And when we had our first floor session, they were voting on things. Like, what am I supposed to vote on here? I don't know anything.
Just got here.
Yeah, I just got here. Thank goodness everything was a voice vote. So you didn't have to like, stand up or, give a yay or a nay on here. And so I felt like I had like 11 minutes to like,
Can I think about my vote?
I had like 11 minutes here to kind of get ready to do some work. I had some tremendous support here from the committee members here from the Speaker of the House. It really kind of pointed out a pretty important thing that the work that we do is not just the work that you individually do. It's a collective piece that you rely on other people to kind of help you out with the information that you need. And that allows you to be the best that you possibly can be here for sure. It's really important lesson for all of us that I've learned over time here. And that just wasn't something I just learned being in the House of Representatives here, but as a college student on all three places I've gone to school, looking for that support, taking advantage of that. If you have a question about something, you don't know something about that topic, ask questions. I asked a lot of questions. And I had a great team to kind of work with, which really kind of prepared me to kind of decide to return here this last year in 2024. I kind of went on sabbatical for a couple of years, worked on my business stuff here, want to get that up and running here for sure. It worked out incredibly well for me to come back into office here for sure. Got a chance to meet some new legislators. And I was appointed to the Appropriations Committee, which is the big money committee here. That, right? We have to put together the state budget, which was $9 billion here this year. There's a lot of parts and pieces to that. And then every head of every agency and every level of things here throughout. And we asked a lot of questions. We had 5 new members on the committee this last year. We got to a good place here for the very end. There's lots of things that you kind of learn through all those opportunities that may creep up here for you here, unexpectedly so. You just don't know what's around the corner. And I think you just never what's really going to bring you back to the place you want to be. No one goes to school really to want to be a politician. Some people do. They do a major in political science. And if that's your interest, you should do that. But you never really sure you're going to end up at the. I think that's really important. Just to keep an open mind here. I don't know if the Fairhaven high school students are all high school, your students here.
Yeah.
Where they're thinking about going for at least
They're all either juniors or seniors. I have some seniors and the rest of them are juniors.
or at least thinking
I
about.
have one senior, one senior, the rest are juniors.
Yeah. So the programs of study you're thinking about, maybe haven't made a decision about, or I'm a little unsure right now.
Anybody?
Okay. But you don't.
I didn't know. Guess what? When I went to college for one thing and I'm not doing that. In my adult life, I went to Johnson State. There was a ski lift up there in the 80s. I mean, on the campus. I actually ended up playing rugby. I actually played against Lyndon on the rugby team. I thought about it as you were talking.
Yeah, probably, I'm sure.
There was some big girls. I ran faster. I learned how to run faster.
Yeah, that's an important skill. That's good.
Run faster.
That's right.
But I was a full soccer player when I went to.
So, when I graduated from Lyndon, there was a lot of my friends that we all were the same major here. And all of us kind of got jobs in that field here within that year or a couple of years later, working, which was great. All doing different things, by the way, as well. I worked for a couple of summer camps, worked for Vermont Fish and Wildlife, became a hunter safety instructor. I didn't grow up to want to do that. I'm a hunter. I like to go fishing and all that kind of good stuff. Ended up doing that. But over the years, as I maintained some contact with some of my alumni friends, many of them are in positions in other venues here. But the things they learned, I think, in the degree program, and there's lots of things we learned a lot about, like leadership, management skills, problem solving, decision making, risk taking, risk management kinds of things. I know the speaker before this session here was talking about, a little bit of risk taking there. We've all had to kind of do that in some regards. When you take on a new job, when I moved from North Carolina back to Vermont, I had a family with a big moving truck. We didn't know where we were going to live. We found a place to live here. Didn't take, one of my fellow professors had an apartment in the bottom of their house. They just finished building. So the moving truck comes in, they're just painting the last wall or something here and said, move in. That's where we were. We eventually bought a house and everything here. That's a big move. And there's lots of things that may complicate moving to a new position. But I think if you're willing to kind of take that risk and work through all that, it'll work out for you for sure. And I think until recently, I think I was the last person standing. My graduating class, I was still working in the outdoor field, but people are doing other kinds of things as well. So,
There is one comment
yes,
in the chat,
yes.
and it's from Ashley Matthews, and
Hi, Ashley.
Ashley says, "You are my representative. I appreciate the work that you do for our area."
Thank you. What town are you in?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. I'm in West Burke.
Oh, you're like 5 miles from where I live in Eastburg.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll have to connect sometime.
Yes.
So I should share with you, my district is quite large. I represent 10 towns in the Essex Caledonia district, if I'm sure information about that. It includes the town of Burke, West and East Burke together. Here in Burke Hollow, we can't forget about Burke Hollow. Some people live in that section of things between the two other areas in Burke. I also represent East Haven, just to the north in Essex County. So Burke is the only Caledonia County town that I represent. But I have East Haven, I have Victory. It was snowing last night in Victory. I was there for a meeting last night. Yeah. Doing snow on the road. I had to put it four-wheel driving through and back home. Victory, Granby, Guildhall, Lunenburg, Maidstone, Brunswick, Bloomfield, and I can't forget Ferdinand. There's 17 people that live in Ferdinand. They're wonderful folks.
I'm telling you, I would never gone all my life.
Yeah.
Some of the towns you just said, I've never heard of them.
They're small. My largest is Burke and Lunenburg, but the others are like in the 60s or maybe getting close to 200. I really enjoy representing those small communities because their voices aren't always heard. Basically, some of the other places in Vermont. So that's some stuff I'd like to share with all of you here today. I encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities, questions, team up with folks that have workplaces that can appreciate those hard days.
Okay. So he graduated. I actually advised his class, but when he was in high school, he knew he wanted to be in politics. He seems like he would.
Yeah,
He spent
yeah, he
so
really
much
did.
time in my room when he was in high school. That's all I talked about. Yeah.
So Ashley, nice to meet you. Questions from folks here, please. We have a couple
I know
minutes,
are we running out of time? I appreciate so much because I'm very interested in how careers go. That's my work. And it's a little atypical, like you mentioned, to know what you want to do in college, and then you can study for the whole life and kind of keep coming back to that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And so it's a little less difficult to do that. So thank you. I appreciate hearing that. You mentioned networking. And I wondered if you could just speak quickly about the importance of networking and what that looks like for like early career, college, even high school, because you have this idea that it's a certain specific thing.
I know, this is the first conference we've had about this, and you're here today. So this is your first networking opportunity here. So when you get invited to attend workshops or those kinds of things, you'll have a chance to, especially in the professional realm, you'll have a chance to kind of meet other professionals in the field that you're looking at. I did that. There are a couple of obvious things we don't tell the students here, and we should, your high school folks can advise you on some of those things. If you're looking for, we have contact right here, this is a career person right here, you can always give you a call.
Yeah.
Just about Lyndon here, but what kind of careers you might be interested in, steer them in the right direction.
Even I was just struck, and I think it would be great to know that everyone that you talk to, you kind of make a connection with, and then they call you and they say, hey, would you come and apply for this job, right? Like that, maybe you've experienced that. It's so important to know that everyone you come in contact with can come back around and be something.
There's lots of opportunities for you, whatever you're thinking about here. If there's an open house opportunity at a college, that's an opportunity to kind of take care of, and maybe some things in the community here as well. I mean, I have students that were in some of my classes that I taught at Lyndon, graduated, they're not doing anything in regard to what their major was. They became paramedics, someone on to medical school, some became lawyers. Other folks started a business right in town. It's a great opportunity for them to be able to do that.
It really does tie to what the young woman said in the space next door about being there. Because if you have interacted with somebody at a bake sale and you weren't there, you weren't paying attention, you weren't enthusiastic, they're not going to call you when there's a job opening because they won't remember you. And you want to make sure that they remember you.
And if there's something, one last thing,
Yep.
if there's something you're thinking about doing, there may be an opportunity for you to just kind of walk in the door and say, hi, my name is, I'm interested in, and would you have any openings here for someone like me at this time? And it might be that internship or apprenticeship opportunity, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, John. We really appreciate you being part of this this event, making a difference and making a living. Obviously, you've lived that. So with gratitude for your dedication and support of public higher education in Vermont, we thank